Hi Crochet Cutie, I hope you're having a magical day. Today we're going to be talking about how to crochet the virus stitch. This tutorial has been highly requested on my TikTok as well as here on YouTube Shorts. If you know me from my TikTok, you might be familiar with my series where I crochet shawls inspired by moth wings. I really love the virus stitch because it does look like wings when it finally comes together, and it mirrors down the center, creating the illusion of an owl face. Before I get into the tutorial, I just want to say thank you so much for over 100 subscribers. This is my first YouTube video, but I've received a lot of support by posting over to YouTube Shorts, and so I just wanted to say thank you so much. I seriously appreciate it. Without further ado, let's learn how to crochet the virus stitch. I'll be using Karen Cloud Cake yarn for this tutorial. You can use whatever yarn you prefer, but I've found with this yarn, one skein ends up being more than enough for a shawl. Starting out with a slip knot, I like to create a slip knot by crossing my working end over my fingers in an X shape. From there, you'll take your hook and grab that top left segment of the X and tighten to create a slip knot. From here, we're going to be creating a chain of 10. So to create a chain, you're just going to yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we're going to find that first chain that we made and we're going to insert our hook. We're going to create a slip stitch by yarning over and pulling through both loops on our hook. And this will just join our end chain to our beginning chain, making a ring that we can work into on the next round. So from here you're going to chain 3, and anytime we chain 3 at the start of our round, that will count as our first double crochet stitch. Next we'll be working double crochets into the ring. To do a double crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's a double crochet stitch. For this round we're going to be doing 20 double crochets into the ring, including that first chain 3 that we made. You're going to stop just before you do the last stitch of this round. I'll show you in a second, but that stitch won't be inserted into the ring. We're going to put it into one of the chains that make up the ring, and that'll help create that triangle shape for the shawl to follow. Also, if you want to, you can crochet over the starting end of your work, just so you don't have to weave it in at the very end. That's what I'm doing in this round. It is less secure than weaving in an end, but if it's just at the beginning like this, it should hold up just fine. Alright, and here we are just before our 19th double crochet. It'll technically be our 20th, counting that first chain 3 space. But on our foundation ring, you're going to count 3 chains back and insert your hook there. If your chain space is a little tight, you can use your hook to pull out the loop that you're trying to work into. And then just inserting into that chain space, you'll make your final double crochet. From here we're going to chain 3. This will be the first double crochet of our next round, and it'll also be our turning chain. So go ahead and double count that you have 20, and once you're for sure, go ahead and turn your work. Because that first chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, you're going to insert your hook into the second stitch from your hook. This round is super easy because we're just repeating the same thing from the last round. You're just going to insert a double crochet into every stitch from the previous round until we have 20 total, including that first chain 3 space. When we get to our last double crochet, we're going to insert it into the top third chain of the chain space that we made in the previous round. At this point I have 19 double crochets, counting that first chain 3 space. I'm just going to insert my hook into the top third chain of that chain 3 space and create a double crochet stitch there. To start out the next round, we'll be chaining 4, and then we'll turn our work from there. The first chain 3 space still counts as our first double crochet stitch. And then working into the second stitch from our hook, we're going to insert a double crochet and then chain. We'll continue this pattern until we reach the last stitch of this round. Alright, we've made it to our last stitch, and we're just going to insert a double crochet into the top third chain of the chain 3 space from the previous round. Double check that you have 20 double crochets followed by a chain space, aside from the last stitch. And now we're going to be chaining 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Alright, make sure you have 10, and then we're going to turn our work. And I'm just going to pause for a second because round 5, instead of working with double crochets, we're going to be working with chain stitches and single crochets. So it's going to be a little bit different, and if you don't know what you're working towards, it can be a little bit confusing. So I just wanted to show you what round 5 will look like when it's completed, so you can get a better visual understanding of what you're going to be working towards. So as you can see, there's going to be a large chain space followed by 3 smaller chain spaces, and then a large chain space. And that pattern is going to be mirrored on either side of this round. Alright, so now that we know how round 5 is supposed to come together, we can start working on it. We're going to insert a single crochet into the chain space 1 space over from our hook. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 to create a single crochet. Chain 4, skip a space, and single crochet into the second space over from your hook. You'll chain 4 again, and then skip a space, single crocheting. Do the same thing, chaining 4, skip a space, single crochet, and then at this point we're going to chain 7. Right, so there's 7, skip a space, single crochet, chain 7 more, skip a space, single crochet, and at this point we're just repeating everything that we did on one side to the other because this shawl is symmetrical. So chain 4, skip a space, single crochet, chain 4, skip a space, single crochet, chain 4, skip a space, single crochet, and then at this point we're going to be doing 7 chains. So chain 7, and we're only chaining 7 here instead of 10 like how we did on the other side, because we're going to be inserting a double crochet into the 3rd chain from the chain 4 space we made in the previous round. So go ahead and find that chain 4 space and count 3 chains up, and once you've gotten it, just insert a double crochet into that chain space to end this round. So that marks the end of our foundation rounds. You're just going to flatten out your piece at this point and make sure that it looks symmetrical. It's really important that we have the right amount of chain groupings here because this will be the foundation for our entire shawl. So go ahead and recount, making sure you have a large chain group followed by 3 smaller chain groups and a large one on either side of your piece. To start the next round, we'll be chaining 3. And like in previous rounds, that chain 3 space will count as our first double crochet as well as our turning chain. We'll be inserting 9 double crochets into the large chain space from the previous round, including that first chain 3 space that'll make 10 double crochets in this large chain space. Make sure that you have 9 double crochets plus that beginning chain 3, and then in the next chain space from our hook, we're going to insert a single crochet. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we're going to be chaining 4. Now we're going to work a single crochet into that second chain 4 space from the previous round. Once you've done that, you're going to chain up 4, and then in the last chain 4 space, we're going to insert a single crochet. So that'll end the pattern that we're doing on those smaller chain spaces. As you can see, it's starting to build up almost like a pyramid or kind of like a pineapple. Now moving on to the first large chain space in the middle, we're going to work 10 double crochets into this chain space. Double check your work, make sure that you have 10 double crochets in that large chain 7 space, and then moving on to the next large space next to it, we're going to be working 10 double crochets there as well. So because this shawl is symmetrical, everything that we do to one side, we will be doing to the other. These large chain spaces that are back to back kind of act like a bookmark to let us know where our line of symmetry is. For these beginning repeat rounds, I am going to be showing you everything that I do on both sides of the shawl, but as we get to the second repeat and so on, I'm just going to be showing you what I do on one half, which might sound a little scary in a tutorial, but I promise as you follow along, it'll be super easy, and if you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments below. Now that we have 10, we're going to work a single crochet into the chain 4 space and then chain up 4. So you can kind of see how we're already mirroring what we did on one side. Work a single crochet into the next chain 4 space and chain up 4 again, and then we'll be working one final single crochet into the last chain 4 space from the previous round. When you make it to the last large chain space of your previous round, you're going to insert 9 double crochets into that chain space. The 10th double crochet will be worked into one of the chains like how we've been doing to keep the shawl's triangular shape. Alright, so we've made it to our 10th double crochet. You might need to scoot your stitches over on the chain space to find the chain that we're going to work into. You're going to count 3 chains up from your hook and work a double crochet into that 3rd chain stitch. So you can kind of see we're starting to establish the quote-unquote eyes of this piece. So from here, it's going to be a really easy round. We're just going to be working double crochets into all of the double crochet stitches that we did in the previous round. So chain up 3, turn your work, and like the previous rounds, that'll be our first double crochet as well as our turning stitch. Finding the 2nd stitch from your hook, you're going to start working double crochets into each of the 10 double crochets from the previous round. For this beginning part, the chain 3 space that we started with will count as one of our double crochet stitches, so you'll actually only be working 9 double crochets here. After you've made your 10th stitch, you're going to insert a single crochet into the chain 4 space from the previous round and chain up 4. Insert a single crochet into the next chain 4 space. Moving on to the next grouping of 10 double crochets, we're going to be working a double crochet into the top of each of these stitches. Be careful because the single crochet you made in the previous round will look a lot like the double crochet that you want to work into. So really do your best to pay attention to what stitch you're working into, and whenever you have groupings of double crochets like this, just make sure that they always add to 10. Here's how it's looking. And now we're just going to be repeating everything we did on one side to the other. So in this next grouping of 10 double crochets, we're just going to work a double crochet into the top of each of these stitches until we have 10. Once you have 10 double crochets, you're going to insert a single crochet into the next chain 4 space and chain up 4 again. In the next chain 4 space, insert a single crochet. At this point you can see how the chains we've made in previous rounds are kind of making a pyramid pattern, where we have 3 spaces on the bottom, 2 in the middle, and 1 on top. At this last grouping of 10 double crochets, we're going to insert a double crochet into the top of each of these stitches. The 10th double crochet will be a little bit different because we'll be working into the top of the chain 3 that we made in the previous round. And here we are at that chain 3. Just working into the top 3rd chain and making a double crochet there. Sorry, my hands go off camera here, but I promise they'll be back in frame soon. This is my first time using a neck mount to record, and I'm still trying to get used to it. Literally, when I've tried to film a crochet POV like this, I've usually just stuck my phone down my shirt, so I'm doing my best here. When you've made your 10th double crochet there, you're going to chain up 4. And turn your work. And so those first 3 chains that you made will count as your first double crochet, followed by a chain stitch. We're going to work a double crochet followed by a chain into the next 8 stitches, stopping when we reach our 9th double crochet. And if you're looking back at the foundation rounds that we did, you can see how this is kind of like the round where we did a double crochet followed by a chain. So our next round is just going to repeat what we've done 4 rounds ago. So we're going to be doing large and small chain spaces. And this round right now is setting up the little spaces or teeth for the single crochets to be worked into. And here we are at our 9th double crochet. This is technically our 10th stitch if we're counting that first chain 3 space as a double crochet, which we are, and instead of following it with a chain, we're actually going to bridge this gap, going all the way over into the first double crochet of this grouping of 20. Chain 1 and repeat this pattern of a double crochet followed by a chain across the next 19 stitches. When you're at your last stitch, you're not going to follow it with a chain, you're just going to bridge the gap like how we did on the other side of the shawl. And here we are at our last stitch, making 20 double crochets along this middle here. And instead of following our 20th double crochet with a chain, we're just going to bridge the gap, inserting a double crochet into that first double crochet stitch of the grouping of 10 from the previous round, chaining up 1, and repeating that pattern until we get to the final double crochet in this grouping. And here we are at the last double crochet stitch, just working it into that top third chain of the chain 3 space from the previous round. So here's what your shawl should look like at this point in the project, and that was the end of our repeat rounds. So from here we're just going to be repeating the last 4 rounds for as many times as you want until the shawl is your desired size. So here I am just chaining 10 again, like how we did 4 rounds ago, and once I've chained up 10, I'm going to turn my work, and then working into the chain space 1 space over from my hook, I'm going to insert a single crochet. And then I'm just going to chain up 4 again, and then work a single crochet into the space 2 spaces over from my hook. And then we're going to repeat that 1 more time, so we have a total of 3 chain 4 spaces. Remember to insert your single crochet 2 chain spaces over. Chain up 4 again, this will be our last repeat, and insert that single crochet 2 chain spaces away from our last single crochet. Now we're at our first large space between these little fans that we've made. At this point we're going to chain up 7, now we're going to be working a single crochet 4 spaces over from our hook. We'll be including that gap between the 2 double crochet stitches in the previous round as one of our spaces. Then we'll chain up 4 again, and insert another single crochet 2 chain spaces over from our hook. We'll be repeating that another 2 times, chaining 4, and inserting a single crochet 2 spaces over. Now on the last leg of the repeat, chaining 4, and inserting a single crochet. And here we're at where the pattern mirrors, so we'll be chaining up 7, and inserting a single crochet into the second chain space away from our hook. And from here we'll just be doing everything that we did on one side of the shawl to the other, kind of working in reverse because at this side we're starting from the center instead of from the edge. Because it's the same concept, I'm going to kind of cut the tutorial here and travel forward in time to show you the next round. If you need any review on how to go over a round again, I'm going to be putting timestamps in the description. And if you need any additional help, you can always reach out in the comments and I'll try to respond as soon as possible. And then I am showing just the last bit of this round because it is a little bit different than how we started. Like in the first repeat, we'll be doing 7 chains on this last little bit here, and then we'll be working a double crochet into the top third chain of the chain 4 space from the previous round. And here's how your shawl should be looking with that first round of your second repeat complete. Moving on to the second round of our second repeat, we'll start this round by chaining up 3 and then turning our work. Like in previous rounds, that first chain 3 space will count as our first double crochet. We'll be working 9 double crochets in that chain 7 space that we made from the previous round. You'll count that first chain 3 space for a total of 10 double crochets here. When you have 10 double crochets, you'll insert a single crochet into that first chain 4 space from the previous round, then chain up 4. We'll be repeating this process, going into the next chain 4 space, placing a single crochet there, and chaining up 4 again, and then inserting one last single crochet in the final chain 4 space from the previous round. Moving on to the chain 7 space, we'll be inserting 10 double crochets here. 3, this one's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Insert a single crochet into the next chain 4 space and chain up 4 again. Repeat this process, inserting a single crochet into the chain 4 space and chaining up 4, and then we'll follow that with one more single crochet into the next chain 4 space. In the chain 7 space, we'll be inserting 10 more double crochets. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And this is just where we repeat. So in that next chain 7 space, we'll be inserting 10 more double crochets, and it'll just be the same thing that we did on one side to the other. So I'm going to cut this round, and I'll meet you at the start of our next round. And I'm just at the last stitch of this round, just showing you that we're still inserting that double crochet 3 chains up in that chain 10 space from the beginning. This is how your shawl should be looking after this round's been complete. And from here we're just going to chain up 3 and turn our work again. That first chain 3 space will still count as our first double crochet. So we're going to be starting this round by working into that second stitch from our hook, and we'll just be working double crochets into the top of each double crochet stitch from the previous round. So counting that first chain 3 space, we'll have 10 double crochet stitches. After you've made 10 double crochets, we're going to insert a single crochet into the next chain 4 space from the previous round. You'll chain up 4, and then we'll insert another single crochet into the next chain 4 space. Moving on to the next section, we'll be inserting a double crochet into the top of each stitch from the previous round for a total of 10 double crochet stitches. Moving on to the next chain grouping, we'll be repeating what we did previously in the round, inserting a single crochet in the first chain 4 space from our hook, chaining up 4, and inserting another single crochet in the next chain 4 space. This next grouping of double crochets is where our shawl mirrors, but we'll still be doing exactly what we did earlier on in the round, just inserting a double crochet into the top of each stitch from the previous round. Because this is where the shawl mirrors, you'll have a grouping of 20 double crochets here, as opposed to a grouping of 10 like how we had previously. But once you've made those 20 double crochets, you'll just repeat everything that we did on one side to the other, so I'll meet you at the end of this round when we get to the final stitch. So here I am just inserting that last double crochet into the top third chain of the chain 3 space from the previous round. And here's what our shawl should be looking like after this round has been complete. So for the last round of the repeat, we're just going to chain up 4, and this is going to be the round where we have double crochets followed by chain spaces. So that first chain 3 that we made will count as a double crochet followed by a chain space. And then turning our work, we're going to insert a double crochet followed by a chain into each of the double crochets from the previous round. The last double crochet that we make won't have a chain following it. Once you've made your 10th double crochet, counting that first chain 3 space, we're going to fully skip over that chain grouping from the previous round, And that last double crochet doesn't get followed by a chain, we're just hopping straight into the next fan from the previous round. So just continue that pattern of inserting a double crochet stitch followed by a chain into each stitch from the previous round, and once we get to that 10th double crochet in that grouping, we're just going to, instead of following it with a chain, we'll hop over to the next fan and continue that double crochet chain pattern. Alright, so I've just made my 10th double crochet stitch, and I'm not following it with a chain. I'm just hopping over to the next fan or double crochet grouping that I made in the previous round. And this grouping of double crochets is where our shawl mirrors again. So instead of having 10 double crochets to work into, we're going to have 20. And so you're going to do 19 double crochets followed by a chain, and then one final 20th double crochet. And then you'll just be repeating that pattern up the other side of the shawl. So I'll meet you at our last stitch. And here I am just working that last double crochet into the top third chain of the chain 3 space from the previous round. And that concludes our last round of our second repeat. So at this point your shawl should be looking something like this. And essentially all you need to know are those 4 rounds to continue building out your shawl. So really, once you've mastered those 4 foundation rounds and then the 4 repeat rounds after that, you can build the virus shawl just off of those 8 rounds alone. So again, I'll be leaving timestamps in the description if you'd like to go back and review how to do any of the repeats. I'm going to finish the rest of the shawl off camera, but I'll still show you the end result. You did see it in the beginning, but here it is. So that's going to be it for today's tutorial. I hope you found it helpful, as well as hopefully understandable. If you have any questions or need any clarification, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I'd also love to hear what you thought about this video, or if you think there's anything I could improve on for future tutorials. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you followed along to this tutorial, and if you did make your own shawl, please tag me, I'd love to see it. My Instagram and TikTok will be down below. If you have any ideas for future tutorials, please let me know too. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Happy crocheting!